In the tempest of Operation Metro Surge, the Trump administration's aggressive deployment of federal immigration enforcement agents into Minneapolis, we are witnessing more than tactical overreach. What has unfolded is a profound democratic crisis. Armed federal agents operating with minimal transparency, deadly consequences confirmed in multiple civilian shootings, and local authorities barred from access to evidence needed for independent investigation. I'm Carl, and welcome to Mind Chimes. To legislate meaningful change, Democrats must articulate a bold, principled, non-negotiable set of demands that compel Republicans to choose between political expediency and democratic accountability. 1. Transparent unmasking of federal enforcement operations. Federal immigration agents engaged in domestic enforcement must operate unmasked, with clear identification and public disclosure of authority and intent. The current practice of deploying masked, militarized units in neighborhoods fuels fear and suppresses civic life. City of Minneapolis. 2. Unmasking in all civil interactions. Not only in deployments, but in every contact with civilian populations, traffic stops, detentions, or entry into homes and hospitals, federal agents must clearly identify themselves, their agency, and the legal justification for their presence. The ambiguity of identity undermines trust and obstructs accountability. Wikipedia. 3. Full release of all evidence in killings. When federal agents kill civilians, as they have in Minneapolis, all evidence, from body cameras to forensic data, must be released both publicly and to independent investigators, including state and local authorities. The FBI's takeover of the Renee Good shooting investigation, excluding the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, BCA, and withholding critical evidence, exemplifies the lack of transparency that breeds injustice. AP News. 4. Independent civil society access to detention centers. Ministers, human rights monitors, and independent civil society organizations must be given unhindered papal-grade access to ICE detention centers. These facilities have long been criticized for secrecy and insufficient oversight, from conditions to treatment of detainees. The Guardian. 5. Suspension of construction of new detention facilities. Rather than expanding detention infrastructure, federal policy should pause construction and invest in humane alternatives. Building more cages in times of crisis signals a preference for incarceration over justice. 6. Processing all abductions through local law enforcement. Democrats should insist that all removals, family separations, and so-called abductions be processed through local law enforcement and judicial systems with due process, not unilaterally by federal agents. Coordination with local authorities builds trust and ensures accountability, avoiding scenarios where community members suddenly disappear with no traceable process. 7. Disarmament of ICE agents in domestic enforcement. ICE should be restructured as a civil enforcement body, not a militarized force. Arms should be limited to operations under judicial warrant and coordination with local law enforcement. The use of deadly force in the Minneapolis killings has already sparked legal battles and widespread criticism. Le Monde FR. 8. Rigorous training and background checks. Every ICE agent must undergo robust background vetting, mandatory de-escalation and civil rights training, and ongoing professional development, emphasizing constitutional policing. The absence of such training contributes to community alienation and violence. 9. Clearly marked vehicles. Unmarked federal vehicles conducting enforcement activities in neighborhoods undermine transparency and public safety. Marked cars signal legitimacy and allow communities to understand and report on enforcement practices. 10. Community engagement through awareness and trust-building events. Federal immigration enforcement should build bridges with communities through public forums, awareness events, and participatory engagements that explain agency roles, legal rights, and oversight mechanisms. Legitimacy grows from consent, not coercion. Conclusion: a democratic imperative. These demands are not rhetorical flourishes. They are the minimum prerequisites for restoring the rule of law, rebuilding community trust, and reasserting democratic oversight over agencies with the power of life and death. In Minneapolis and beyond, the nation is watching what happens when federal enforcement operates without restraint, when local voices are silenced, when evidence is withheld, and when militarized force takes precedence over due process. City of Minneapolis. For the health of the Republic, for the protection of civil liberties, and for the redemption of an immigration system now at the brink of constitutional crisis, these demands must stand firm in negotiations with Republicans, and they must be backed not with deference but with resolve. Thanks for reading, watching, or listening, and please like, subscribe, and share.